Electric Cafe.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today is day number 24 in my month-long focus on 60s, 70s, and 80s experimental, ambient, and new age albums. Today's album review is on John Hassell's 1981 album called Dream Theory in Malaya. Quote, in quotations, or in parentheses, excuse me, Fourth World Volume 2. So this album, just to give you a little bit of background, if you're not familiar with John Hassell, I'm reading a little bit of his bio, so just bear with me. Basically, he's an American trumpeter, composer, and author. He passed away 4 years, unfortunately. He was 84 years old. He's the creator of a style of music he described as Fourth World, a mysterious, unique hybrid of music both ancient and digital, composed and improvised, Eastern and Western. After composition studies and university degrees in the United States, he went to Europe to study electronic and serial music with Carl Stockenhausen. Several years later, he returned to New York, and some of his first recordings were with minimalist masters like Terry Riley, who he met a Hindu raga master, and he's evolved his ethnic music from then. So I love the background of John Hassell's career his well, I mean, of course, his music, but I just love the idea of him taking his um, teachings, or I'm sorry, taking his schooling and taking his schooling and his background and his abilities and going to learn from other cultures and sort of blend the both of them together, and also the ancient and the digital. So he's also combining technology and storytelling. And that's the key thing about this particular album. If you'll allow me to read the background and the theme for this album, basically, Dream Theory in Malaya is titled after a paper and a visionary anthropologist, Kilton Stewart, who in 1935 visited a remarkable highland tribe of Malayan Aborig- Aborigines, the Sinoa, whose happiness and well-being was linked to their morning custom of family dream telling, where a child's fearful dream of falling was praised as a gift to learn how to fly. The next night, where a dream song or a dance was then taught to a neighboring tribe to create a common bond beyond differences of customs. So how awesome is that? They know the power of music, and they know the power of a dream, and they're sharing that dream with another tribe, regardless of their customs, right? Regardless of their differences of opinion, right? There may be religious difference of opinion, and sort of sharing that with another tribe, and sort of sharing that experience, and them learning from that experience, and also bonding from that experience. I just think that's an amazing thing to do, and it's something that other countries have done, and it's something that we should always do through the power of music and through the power of art. Um, you know, share our customs, and through the differences and not be really intimidated or ignorant through other people's customs, but to learn their culture. What better way to learn through culture than other people's culture than music or art, right? I mean, that's why this not only is this album and John Hassell have a great background, but this album has a great theme to it, and because of that whole dreamlike focus and his background, and really the way he's composing and combining the Eastern and the Western, this album has a really subtle, rich, and deep but intense sound to it. Um, in many ways, it's really ahead of its time as well. And I think that's it takes sometimes it takes years and decades for people to understand and appreciate physical art or art that you would look at, right? And there's also that also goes into effect when it comes to listening to art, and or cultural music. It takes a long time sometimes for things to sink in and be appreciated. And John Hassell's music is one that is, even past his passing, is still gaining steam as far as being appreciated through a lot more people. And the reissues in the last few years, and I think this was reissued a couple of years ago, has helped the album hit a new generation. And you have a lot of people out there yearning for real music, right? Not they're sick and tired of hearing, you know music being fed to them through pop music and Billboard and being sold to all the time, and just this kind of fake art that is in the media as far as appreciation, as far as how to appreciate a different level of music. And this is to the extreme, right? This is what people are yearning for, to take music more seriously, and to be, you listen to this, you get dropped down in the culture, of it. You get dropped down into the theme and the storyline of the composer, right? This is the type of album that you just get enthralled in and get immersed in, as soon as you drop the needle on this record. Um, the trumpet, because he's playing trumpet on here, there's a lot of unique effects he does to it, and also unique ways he plays it. There's a lot of times you wouldn't think of trumpet as being an experimental instrument, right? When you think of trumpet, you think of like military, right? You think of like jazz music, maybe. But rarely do you think of experimental music or ambient music when it comes to trumpet, right? But, Miles Davis kind of helped that in jazz music, right? Where John Hassell kind of helped that in ambient music, right? In ethnic music. There's certain times where he's playing the trumpet where you don't even think it's a trumpet being played. You think it's some sort of wind instrument, or some kind of wooden instrument, even. Like sometimes it doesn't even sound like it's a metal instrument. Like, I don't know if it's the baffling he's doing, or if he's playing the trumpet through something that's wooden, but sometimes it even sounds like it's ancient. It doesn't sound like a brass instrument, let alone any kind of wind instrument. Sometimes it's just it really takes on a very aesthetic, um, more background, in the pieces, right? A lot of times, it's the one thing I don't really like about trumpets. It's a very standout instrument, right? You play an instrument and you're standing out. It's not like a rhythm section. It's not like a percussion. It's not like a one of the many drums you could play, right? Like you play in trumpet, it's front and center for the most part. Same thing with most uh, instruments, that are brass, like saxophone and things like that, right? You think of like flutes, even flutes is or clarinets. It's generally not something you can put in the background or it be subtle, right? It's just it's gonna stand out a lot. But here, it he does a great job of it blending right into the whole production of what's going on. Um, there's parts where I think one of the part I forgot to mention was, there's a recorded fragment of what says the recorded fragment of their joy-filled water splash rhythm. that they do, which was reconstructed and became the generating force behind this. So that's that was kind of the guide that he took, and that kind of lends itself to the rhythmic section of a lot of these parts. Um, there's 8 tracks, or sorry, seven tracks on here, I believe, or 7 tracks. The longest piece being track number 6, which is just a little bit over 10 minutes, called Malay. The first track is a short piece. It's called, forget my French, I don't know, Cormor. Not not the best at pronouncing. Looks like it's French. A little bit over 2 minutes long. It's a nice intro. I give it 2 stars. Courage I like a little bit more. It's tribal, nice hymn sound. Kind of has sort of a broken rhythm sound also to it. But it really, through these 2 tracks, it's really you're kind of being brought into the theme, and you're not being broken to it right away. You're kind of being introduced into it, and both tracks really lead nicely into the rest of the album. But they are the shorter tracks, for the most part. But I give this one 2 and 3/4 stars. Dream Theory. This one is similar to the second track, Courage, but it evokes the dream further. It's called Dream Theory, of course. It's like the inspiration of the album theme. It adds a little bit more bass. Um, I give this one 3 and 1/4 stars. The next track, track number 4, I give 3 stars. I tend to like my ambient a little bit more smoother, more atmospheric. This one's a bit frantic, but it gives a nice balance to everything else, which is generally a little bit more dreamlike. But maybe this is sort of the more frantic part of a dream, right? This could be like what he was saying about a dream of a kid's falling. This could be more towards that, and so I still think it's a good track at 3 stars, but it's a little bit more frantic. Um, but it's balancing everything else out. But I generally, personally, I like my ambient a little bit more smoother and more atmospheric, which the next track, Malay, is a perfect example of that. This one does a really good job of using like some uh, kind of tribal bowls and gongs and bells and things like that, some sort of unique percussion to sort of give everything a really a nice ancient feel. 3.5 stars is probably my favorite track on here. But the album ends really strong as well. Track 6 and 7, I both give 3 and 1/4 stars as well. Number 6 is These Times. It's really nice atmosphere in this short little interlude. It sort of sounds like the air night, like if you stepped outside of. I'm kind of putting myself in that kind of atmosphere, right? I feel like you stand outside and it just became dusk, and there's everybody's kind of settling into their humble abodes, or whatever, if tribal, if they're tents or whatever, but you're kind of standing outside and catching the fresh air and sort of hearing some distant wind chimes going on and some nature sounds and some insects and things like that. Like this one kind of has that kind of it just really envelops you in that kind of atmosphere of being around in like a tribe. That's what I get from it, anyways. 3 and 1/4 stars, and then the last track again, 3 and 1/4 stars. This one's a more peaceful ending. Um, it almost sounds like if you're in like an oasis or paradise, and kind of has some light water drums, and almost sounds like there's some chanting in the foreground, and sort of a waterfall in the background, and nature is of course all around you, and everything has a really nice space to it, and there's really a nice sound architecture going on in this track specifically, and also the whole second side specifically. After the dreamlike part of it kind of puts you into the culture of the of the tribe, and so this album really takes you there, and It was engineered by Daniel Lenoir, so a really strong producer who's produced everything from U2 to you name it. He's done quite a his his engineering credits are some of the one of the most amazing who he's worked with. So combination of him and then John has those theme and vision. This is a really outstanding record. Especially when it comes to experimentalism and ambient and kind of an ethnic ambient piece. Um, the only maybe drawback of the album that I feel like the songs could have done a little bit more. I feel like it envelops you and it immerses you, but it I don't think it really takes it to the next level, which I think could have been an opportunity. Um, I feel like I'm visiting there, but I'm not like moved by there as much as the story is, as much as his background is. I feel like there maybe could have been a little bit more to this album. And then that's a little bit of a drawback in this album, but that's just a small critique to it. I just wish there was more. That's basically me saying I wish there was more of this. I wish there was um, I wish there was maybe a little bit more done to the songs, maybe taken to the extreme, maybe a little bit. Not just the frantic extreme, but maybe a little bit more of the dreamlike, um, the dreamlike, uh, um, I guess, mood of this. I feel like could have been maybe honed in a little bit more to it. But 21 stars divided by 7 songs is a 3.0, which takes it around a 70. For the theme and the background and everything, I gave it some extra points, and I give it a 74 out of 100, right in the middle of very good, which I feel strongly about, and I feel like that's a good score for this album. Um, but I think the great thing about this is volume two, right? So there's other volumes of the style, and maybe collectively through the albums, you do get more of a feeling of I guess maybe more of what you want from this album, and that comes in multiple pieces because this is only volume two, so that's exciting. That there's it's not just he's visiting this idea and this dream-like state and this theory, this theme for just one album, but it really helped change his life, in many ways, and helped him feel like he discovered a unique um, style of music, almost a unique style of world music in a way. But yeah, 74 out of 100 for John Hassell's Dream Theory and Malay. Really strong album, and definitely uh, one of my favorite ethnic ambient albums. One of the first ethnic albums, ethnic ambient albums that I've ever heard. I first heard this probably around 1998, I think, somewhere around there when I first heard John Hassell's music. All right, thanks so much for watching. Just curious if you know this album and what you would rate it. All right, thanks so much.